Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a fantastic day. We're going to go through a little bit of a review of NHL 24 and kind of compare it to NHL 23 and whether or not you should buy NHL 24 if you haven't yet. So let's start off with the one of the new features of NHL 24 with the total control system. I made a separate video of this, so I'm just going to go over it briefly. But in that video, I kind of established that the total control system is a major step down from skill stick, in that the only pro of using it is that it makes deking easier, despite the fact that deking is only very usable on a handful of players inside the NHL, that they have enough of a deking stack in order to properly pull off dekes. Other issues with the total control system is, the line changes are brutal. You can't do any on the rush line changes. The shove and reverse hitting controls interferes with shooting. It overrides it, so you won't shoot the puck, you'll just miss. Instead, you'll shove the defender or whoever you're near, getting a penalty and losing the puck and wasting an opportunity. So that's broken. Hitting is just in a really bad place compared to where it was in NHL 23 with the new system. The regular hits, just the animation and the physics are so inconsistent, and they just don't work. Even if you do charge it, it's just the physics is just very arcadey, very poor compared to what it was in NHL 23. And then you have hip checks, which was supposed to be like this fantastic new thing. It is really fun to do, but it works way too well. You can hip check anybody in the middle of the ice at any angle, at any speed, and it works. And you rarely get a penalty. So it's just not a very good system that works. It's not executed properly. There's too many negatives and drawbacks for total control to be fun to use and improve gameplay. It makes gameplay worse in NHL 24. So on the bright side though, you can go to back to skill stick, or even now hybrid control. So that's a plus. So if you're looking to play hybrid controls, you can still go back to that. The other major thing that they added to NHL 24 was the pressure system. So it was advertised as, if you're used to outplaying your opponent with time on attack and shots on goal, that you're going to win the games you should and lose the games you shouldn't be winning. That was how it was sold. The problem is that it hasn't been executed properly in order to make it work. So you can still get 50 to 60 shots per game and still lose, just because if you're not activating full pressure when you're getting those 50 to 60 shots, you're not going to score. It's very difficult. The goalies can save 50 to 60 shots per game, even if they're rated 74 overall. It's just not accurate. The goalies, even when they're in full pressure and they have it activated, it's inconsistent whether or not they actually get tired and make mistakes, because once you get them out of that desperation mode, which for some reason seems to save a lot of the pucks anyway, if once they're out of it, even if they're fully tired and you still have full pressure activated, if you don't take a shot for like 4 or 5 seconds, the goalie goes back to being set, and it takes 2 to 3 more shots to get him unset again, in full pressure, despite the fact that he's exhausted. He still has great cross crease movement and vision, despite the fact that he's supposedly very tired. So it's a great idea. It just hasn't been implemented properly. Like it's eliminated rush hockey, which is a huge component in when you're playing on hard difficulties. It's very difficult to maintain possession of the puck consistently throughout the game in the offensive zone because of how good the AI is. If you're playing a team that's kind of like at your level or below, it's not too bad. But if you're playing a MasterCard team in Hut, a team that has better players than your team does, or if you're playing where you're position locked on Superstar, it is virtually impossible to maintain possession in the offensive zone on Superstar when you're position locked. So it's just made the gameplay worse. On hard difficulties, the only way to score now is just with cheese. There's like a couple good ways to cheese goals. And with total control, the one nice thing is deking. So if you have a high stat deke player, pulling off the Michigan seems to be very consistent at scoring if the defenders aren't there, depending on the strategy of the AI that you're playing or the player that you're playing. But in high level pro play, it just doesn't happen. So the major cheese is short side wraps seem to work pretty good, and then reverse, not reverse, but toe drags, backhand toe drags work really well. So without cheese goals, it's just very difficult to score, and even then, it's difficult to get them to work consistently through the game. So it's just not improving the gameplay. It's just so poorly executed. So I'd hate to say that it's a step down from NHL 23, because NHL 23 was really, really bad. Not that it was a bad game. It was just a case that it was a copy and paste from NHL 22. There wasn't many changes, and they didn't do any updates. So it's not, I wouldn't say it's an improvement for sure. It's different. It's a different style of hockey. It's a very Vancouver plays Boston in the finals hockey, where Vancouver relied on the pressure system, whereas Boston played on the rush, and we saw who won that series. So when you remove rush hockey and you make the goalies really good, despite the fact that you can have more time on attack and 50 to 60 shots per game, and you're not scoring and you're losing games when your goalie has 20 shots against him and lets in 3, 4, 5 goals, it's a huge problem that so many people are talking about on Reddit, but nothing's going to change with it until maybe NHL 25, just because they're not interested in changing the system too much. They'll fix something that is like super broken. So if there's a new wrap that's just working all the time, they'll patch that. But other than that, they're not going to change the gameplay too much. So that's why I don't think the pressure system is a reason to buy NHL 24 if you haven't. I'll try to make it quick to go over Hut and how it's changed in NHL 24. Just because I think that's the only mode that I'd really say has been changed enough to buy NHL 24, is the fact that it's new. It's got the cross play market, which is huge. They should have had that years ago. The fact that they haven't is crazy. But they've just bungled so many events and executed so many things poorly in the new Hut that it's kind of made playing Hut not fun, because the biggest issue with Hut is that the rewards are still poor. They're still about the same as NHL 23. The modes haven't changed. So when those two things are the same, you rely on the new gameplay to carry the mode. And the issue is the new gameplay is not fun. It's different to some degree. So for the first, couple weeks, if you play every day, it's going to be fun. But after that, you're going to be beating your head against the wall, and it's going to become a chore to play your squad battles games. It's going to be a chore to play Hut Rush. And if you're an online player, it's just going to be a repeat of last year, even with the different gameplay. Just because it's not fun. You can still take 50 to 60 shots per game, still lose. So it's not worth it at all. You have all these new collectibles. They're making steps forward, like adding collectibles based off of how you play. So if you're a Hut Rush person, or if you're a Squad Battles person, or if you're a Rivals person, you get collectibles that you can use for exclusive, player cards, or turn them in for packs the way you want, which is, I think, a good idea. The fact that they reused some assets and they named them bronze, silver, gold, and diamond instead of after the mode, because they didn't want to create new assets, was just so asinine. It's ass at 10. And then in terms of like the launch of Hut, you had the training camp, but then you introduced new collectibles that if you want to get trade in the 79 cards that you get basically for free and try to get that, I think it was Orpik or Orlov, one of the two that you got as an 85 training camp card. You're left with a collectible card that you can't do anything with. And then when you ask about it, you get ignored on the forums. So it's just, that's a huge problem. Hut Rush was great week 1 because nobody was playing it. And so like I went on Sleeveless's stream on Twitch, and I was like, hey dude, they got some good rewards this year in Hut Rush, and I enjoyed playing it. And I said that, and he called me a retard. And so that's fine, like, whatever. But the issue is 24 hours later, he had a video out on why you should play Hut Rush. 24 hours later. So it's just ridiculous that I throw out an idea out there and be like, Hut Rush is in a good place, and then suddenly, I'm ostracized. It's like, oh, you play Hut Rush, and you're a retard, whatever. And then all of a sudden, everybody, you need to play Hut Rush because the rewards are good. It's still a garbage mode, but the rewards are good, so you should grind it out. It's like, I just told you that, right? I just told you the rewards are good in Hut Rush. So that was super annoying, because Hut Rush was reasonably fun in the first week, but then week 2 they ran into the bug where not only is it, as usual, intermittently counting the objectives that you're completing in game, but then once you actually complete them, they didn't put the points, the bonus 150,000, 100,000, whatever for that objective towards your reward tiers. So I completed 2 objectives in my first game on the Friday of week 2, and they didn't count. And I had to play 3 hours of Superstar games in order to grind out the last levels, because they didn't fix it, despite the fact that I sent repeated messages to the EA help desk. And I posted pictures of the issue. The EA help desk person didn't look at them for the first 4 messages and asked stupid questions like, when was this, blah, 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 blah. Even though it's like they're not reading the message, they like go deal with other stuff, and then they forget, oh, I'm in the middle of a conversation here, and they don't read the before the conversation. They just kind of read the last message. And so I get, they're probably minimum wage, working from home type idea. But if that's who EA is paying to do community involvement, and, that's supposed to be the place you report the bugs, they're just not going to get fixed, right? So, they fixed the bug so that it couldn't happen again, but anybody who did experience the bug were kind of shit out of luck. And so that basically derailed week 2 for me. And then week 3, they nerfed Hut Rush, where now instead of getting 200,000 point objectives, now the objectives were worth 70 to 80,000. And instead of having 30 tiers of rewards, you had 20. And so that's basically they didn't remove 10 tiers of a variety of the rewards. It was the last 10 tiers of good rewards they cut off. So basically your rewards stopped at tier 20, and all the good rewards that were further along, they're just gone. So they made Rush, there's no point in playing Rush week 3. Week 4, today they just added they just fixed it so that now your objectives are worth 100,000, 150,000 again. So you have to grind less for the crappy rewards. So I mean, they're somewhat making small steps forward. But, having multiple events that run simultaneously with the Objectives 2.0 just makes it a grind fest. Like getting 100 goals with Hemsky. And then you have to play so many games with the prototype cards in order to get all the collectibles for the fantasy hockey event. And you have to do it in 2 weeks. You had to play 225 games in 2 weeks. Like, I was able to trade in a couple 84 cards and get 4 prototype players going in my lineup. You still have to play over 50 games in 2 weeks, in order to get all the collectibles just to make one of the fantasy hockey player cards, which the week 1 players, not that great. I kind of expected better, to be honest, considering how hyped it was, and because I never got to play it in NHL23. So I was kind of super hyped for it, and then they kind of released Suzuki and a few other guys, and none of them were like excited. None of them were like great rookie cards that you were like, okay, if this rookie does really well this season, it would be great. Having Suzuki on Montreal and being in Montreal's rebuilding phase, it's going to be very difficult for Suzuki to become a 99 overall card. And that was the story with so many of the cards they put out. So it's just, the best event of the year, and they just kind of give us that. It was just very disappointing. So there's a lot of steps forward, and like every year, NHL gets overhyped, and I bought it just because I was hoping that I think the main reason was I was hoping that the pressure system would change it so that instead of when I take 50 shots a game, I'm gonna win that game, and it just doesn't happen. I'm a poor pro online player. I struggle in rivals, but I was able to take a lot of games to overtime that I shouldn't, just by playing defensively. And with the pressure system, that shouldn't be. The guy was just taking so many shots on goal on me, taking so many. He had so much time on attack, and just because I scored 1 goal on the rush because he put it in his own net, because the AI is a really poorly programmed component of NHL. Is just the AI players just are so inconsistent with how they play. It almost makes the game unplayable sometimes, but that's only one component of the game. I took so many of those games to overtimes. I even won a game, and I shouldn't have. You know, I'm not that good. So I think the pressure system did not achieve its goals. It's a great idea. It's a step forward. NHL 24 is a step forward towards better, a better game, but it's not there. And it's definitely not worth, 80, $130, depending on, where you live and what your currency is, you know. So it's just very disappointing because it could have been executed a lot better if some thought was put into it. Maybe in 25, 26, 27 they'll get there. But if you're not a hut player and you're looking at, franchise mode or be a pro mode, there isn't really anything that is a big reason to buy. The one big thing that I was really impressed with, I'll end on this. The big thing I was impressed with was the goalie controls. The new Tether system is fantastic. Shot guessing, the whole 9 yards. Goalie controls, fantastic. So if you want to be a pro with goalie, now is the time to do it. It is fantastic. And I had a lot of fun with it. I play it a little bit. It's a lot of fun. The only issue is, watching the AI play in the other zone and do stupid stuff and waiting for them to score, basically, to win games is kind of frustrating. But the actual physics of the goalie and the control is fantastic. So I don't know. Hopefully you guys, that helps you guys out. I'm sure there's lots of people with different opinions. To be honest, I really don't care what you guys think. If I want to know what you think, I'll see what you guys say on Reddit or on your own YouTube channels, which is why I turn off comments on my videos. Because most of the time, I don't care what you think. I think I'm right, and that's why you want to put a comment. Is you think I'm wrong and you think you're right, and that's why you want to share your opinion. Which is fine. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. This is my channel, and why I get to share my opinion. So, anyway, hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and keep your stick on your ice.